All right, guys, we're excited to be here again this week. Bobby and Graham from Voltage. What's going on this week, dude?
Hello, good to see you, Bobby.
It is great to see you too. This is a this is a fun week in Bitcoin. It's been up and up for a bit, and now we got a little price action in the other way. The ETF holders get a taste of reality, so it's kind of fun.
Yep, it's true. To us, it's a normal Tuesday, but to maybe some of the newer folks, it is an interesting week.
It really is. Well, we're excited to chat this week. We've got 4 or 5 pretty cool things to discuss. And just a reminder, everyone, this is a live community driven show. So if you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, wherever, feel free to engage, comment. I'm going to be keeping eyes out, showing those comments in the video. So feel free to chime in and share anything you may have. But we'll go ahead and dive in. I'm going to share my screen here and we'll get into some of these topics to kick it off. But first and foremost, um, CFW is a fraud, and we can say that without getting sued now. Courts have validated this, so pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's great to see. And it is. I like the tweet here from BitMEX Research because I guess supposedly this is like straight from the judge's mouth. I'm really interested to see how like the kind of official judgment comes out, but um, I think one of the ways that like he has been able to kind of let this fraud go on for so long is like the inability for like kind of the legal system to grasp what is Bitcoin. How do you prove like this stuff? And so I think he's kind of been able to slide by for a long time on that. So it's great to see this come through where it is a very concise statement that an official ruling that he did not provide any evidence whatsoever that he is actually Satoshi or anything like that. So this is exciting. This is a great one.
Yeah. So pretty short and sweet, but I know everyone's been celebrating that, so got to kick the show off with a dub, as we say. So there we go.
Yeah, definitely.
Cruising along here, this was pretty sweet. I'm not too privy to like Wasabi myself. I haven't actively used it, but this is kind of awesome because there's been some news over the last couple of weeks about how um, someone in the chat, really explained this maybe better, but Chainalysis is like validating, or they're trying to like get their software validated as like truth, when in reality it's like very inaccurate. And Wasabi Wallet is staying innovating, and they're making it harder to time analysis, giving people, further privacy features and whatnot. But Graham, any thoughts from you just on this update from Wasabi Wallet to increase randomness?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see. I mean, it's great to see continuing just to push for advancing this kind of technology. So it's honestly a pretty simple change from what I've read of just kind of, it used to be timed batches that you would kind of go through these coin joins, and it was like, a predictable every, I don't know how many minutes or whatever, but there's a predictable interval where this kind of adds a little bit of more randomness on like a user level of when do you participate in the coin join, when do you not, all of those kinds of things. So it's great to see them continuing to push on advancing their tools and their platforms and things like that. So I think it's great. I think it's great to see, and it'll be really interesting to see this continue to evolve over time. But yeah, I think it's great. Really excited to see this kind of continuing on to further make the kind of analysis software a little bit harder to track.
Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. You can randomly pause. So if you have, again, a low time preference and you're willing to like slow down and drag out your coin joins, it introduces just an additional level of privacy and confusion. And yeah, more options too, with like minimizing speed, minimizing cost. Pretty cool overall. So folks who use Wasabi, feel free to share your feedback, how you feel about this in the comments. But pretty cool to see more innovation from that front. Cruising along here.
Yeah.
I saw you chime in on this, Graham, the other day. I don't know where it is. Maybe it was on another tweet, I think. But
Too
Binance
many
has,
bots in their replies. I got pushed down.
yeah, but 100 billion in assets for Binance. I guess this is like an industry record for one platform holding over 100 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of my comment to it was like, there's a time and place for custodians, but 100 billion is like no single entity should have that much in their balance sheet, and like even they do proof of reserves and all of those things, but still, like there's I think like if I looked at it right, I think like 16 billion of the 100 is in like their BNB, like their Binance token. And so it's like even then, I mean, that was one of the problems with like FTX is they
Mm,
own so much of their own token and were leveraging it for so many different things that it became hard.
yeah.
So it's like so I guess there's a couple areas where like I'm not super excited about this one because of a significant amount of their balance sheet is their own token, which is like just odd. But then also there's again time and place for custodians, but having this much money in a single platform, even with proof of reserves, is never a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that. And we've got some friends over at Hoseki who are doing a great job, having and helping brands showcase proof of reserves. For those who are not familiar with Hoseki, they give you the ability to publicly verify and verify the balance of what you've got. Log in with Twitter, a lot of other cool functions. But I like what these guys are doing. I think they're going to do something pretty impactful. And I personally haven't audited the proof of reserves process that Binance goes through. I know it's a step potentially in the right direction, but yeah, the amount they're holding in BNB alone is pretty substantial, and that alone creates almost like a waterfall risk to all other assets on their platform. That was a good point, like what we saw with
Yeah,
FTX.
yeah, and I mean it's like I'm obviously not spreading FUD or anything, but it's just like I think overall, I think that amount of money from like customers not having control over is significant because like what if something happened to Binance? That's a lot of damage. Like 100 billion is a lot of damage to be done to kind of the ecosystem, to individuals, to organizations, all of those things. So definitely something we would love to see decrease over time. I think part of the thing too is like also like significant amounts of price increase. I don't know how much of this 100 billion is from like asset holding increases versus just strictly holding the same amount of assets and the price is increasing. But regardless, I think for an exchange like this, maybe it's a great thing to be touting. From my perspective, I think the lower this number, the better.
Yeah, yeah. I think the way I've kind of viewed a lot of this is, I don't think any of the scam coins are going anywhere for a while. It seems like this, like last cycle, what was there, like NFTs? The cycle prior, it was ICOs. Now there's kind of like meme and culture coins, and
Yeah,
even Coinbase. You see, like when you get emails from them or their homepage, they're advertising like dog with hat or whatever that is, and like Zen coin and
dude,
like a lot of
it's
these culture things. There's like a Trump coin, there's a Reddit coin, like, and none of these things are associated with the people or the companies or the entities. It's just culturally people are like, let's launch a token, put a meme around it. So this is going to bring like a big amount of capital to the space, and all it ultimately does is increase risk at the end of the day.
it's like that whole like that. It's something I mean I don't get it because like honestly like in the previous cycles like you mentioned NFTs ICOs all those things they were at least like touting it having functionality of some sort. It's going to solve some problem. It didn't in most cases, but like they were trying to solve a problem with it. Let's say with like the culture coins and stuff, it's just like people like it, and like that's why it's there. And it's just kind of like it's like they're not even trying anymore. Is like the way that I see it. It's just like we're just kind of like what it is what it is. We're gonna make another dog coin, and people are gonna like it, and that's what it is. And so I don't understand that kind of thinking.
Yeah. Well, bullish on puppies. Everybody's going to have a new friend this cycle. Yeah, moving along into to the latest news, I think of today is MicroStrategy acquiring over 9,000 Bitcoin, and they now officially hold over 1% of the supply.
hmm Yeah, I mean, this is interesting as well. I don't know how like it's. I like MicroStrategy from the standpoint of like really kind of championing holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet, all of those things. I think I'm probably like less bullish on an organization holding 1% of the supply and beyond because that they're not going to stop here. They're not done at this buy. It wasn't like Michael Saylor is like had enough yet. I don't think that that's the case. And so they're going to continue. And so it's kind of like I think for it's one of those weird things that honestly I kind of struggle with because it's like on one hand like who's to say that they can't it's just a race to who can buy the most, and it's just kind of like they're actively participating in that race. But at the same time, it's kind of like the whole and an entity having this much kind of in the balance sheet is I think there's some negative effects to it as well. So I think it's interesting to see for sure. I think that it's great to see from the standpoint of kind of championing organizations holding Bitcoin and things like that. But I don't know. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, I guess. I don't know. What do you think about that, Bobby?
Yeah, I think of the classic, don't worry about what another man or person has in their pocket. And like I saw Denver Bitcoin Adam, where I used to live in Colorado, he was mentioning someone holding a ton doesn't hinder your ability to spend your Bitcoin or use it. And I agree with that. But
Mm-hmm.
there's also the other
Yep.
side of the token where someone who owns a ton, like what I believe is going to happen, and this is kind of like just playing it out long term, is when you have that much capital and you can buy and acquire a lot of these early stage Bitcoin companies for an exit. I think about a founder who's in a position, who's accountable to venture capitalists. Taking an exit and getting a return of capital is very important. So it comes down to the decision, like, are people going to sell their companies in order to get a great payout, which MicroStrategy can do? They could essentially buy up every player who's building the technology that's powering Bitcoin on an enterprise level. But also beyond that, they have the ability potentially long term to offer the first or the first stock that has a dividend that's in Satoshis, which I think is going to happen is like assets get built on Bitcoin and on blockchain, whether it be through Taproot assets or maybe some Web3 thing. God, who knows? We're not here to debate that. But I totally could see them acquiring a ton of companies. I see them giving a SATS dividend, and I see them focusing on SATS flow if they really do live this out to the fullest extent of the maximalist Michael says he is. So that also brings like a lot of the M&A stuff that we see in like private equity, where like a small group owns everything or a private equity group owns everything. It just kind of furthers power into the hands of one. And I'm more concerned about that than someone owning 1 or 2% of the Bitcoin supply. And I know folks would disagree, but I'm of the anyone who watches like the content I make, I'm really about people owning companies, starting them and holding them. And that's not how it works whenever you're venture backed, because you've got investors that are due. But I totally see Michael buying up everything like down the road. He's going to acquire everything. He's going to do the playbook that Facebook, Amazon, Google have all done, because that's where most growth is when you're a mature company, is M&A.
Yeah, no, I think that's a valid take to really think through. Not only I think MicroStrategy is obviously has been a very interesting organization to watch. I think that will continue to be the case over time as well. So yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, right on. So cranking along here, the Human Rights Foundation. This is cool because we've got a partnership with these guys helping NGOs and dissidents who need infrastructure to do some of what they're doing. But they're continuing pushing forward, investing $500,000 into 14 different projects across education, lightning, and all of this. So it's always wonderful seeing these guys back folks, because they do a lot to ensure that Bitcoin is in the hands of people. Funding is in the hands of people who are innovating Bitcoin and bringing tools to the user of the world. We sell infrastructure to in a B2B way into organizations and enterprises, but it's awesome to help serve and play a role with someone like HRF. But this was really cool to see in the news today.
Yeah, I agree. I think it great to see. I love that the people at HRF are awesome, and then they've listed out all the organizations that they've given to. Some of them are I think, like grant renewals, like BTC Pay Server. I think Ellen bit some of those, but then there's also some interesting people that are creating maybe new organizations in places like Kenya, Uganda, places like that, which are awesome to see too.
Mm.
Bitcoin Optech, which is just a fantastic newsletter on kind of the technical bits around Bitcoin and what's happening there. So I agree. This is awesome, and I think it's really great to see the kind of the diversity of them in terms of who they're kind of granting to. From its technology providers, it's just individuals, it's newsletters, it's people that are just adding value to the ecosystem in different ways. And so I think that that's one of the big positives as well from this round of grants.
Yeah. So shout out HRF. Keep up the wonderful work. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, you guys have probably been like, where's the lightning news? Well, Emboss had a great announcement today. They've partnered with LQWD, who's bringing 10 Bitcoin to the Magma marketplace. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like 30 minutes old or something, so it's like super fresh news, I guess. And yeah, basically, it looks like Amboss and Liquid kind of teamed up to, for basically, it's for to maybe to give a little bit of background. Amboss they have their marketplace, Magma, which is a place to like kind of buy and sell channels, buy and sell liquidity. That has been you can basically anyone can be a channel seller inside of the marketplace, which is great. That still exists. I think that what this is LQWD being another provider inside of selling liquidity inside of the marketplace. So you're not only I think that there's some opportunity for the marketplace to grow or see large spikes or something where LQWD will be almost like a backstop to be able to fill anything that the default kind of marketplace couldn't fill, or even just being an additional kind of provider in there. Because when you, as a lot of people want to look at liquidity, you want liquidity from multiple different providers, different sources, different areas of the network. You don't want to have it all in one place. And so this is a great kind of addition
Yeah.
to some other channels you might have with different parties. Then you have one like with some like LQWD. So I think it's really cool to see them kind of continuing to fill out their Magma marketplace. And it'll be interesting to see how this pans out and how their volume shift over the coming year. So I think that there'll be a lot there to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and two interesting things. One thing, Nate from our team, our support engineer who helps manage enterprise clients that come through and want to spin up a node. We've had a couple customers come through, and he kind of just talking to me on the side, and he's like, "Bobby, I had to wipe out nearly half the Magma marketplace in order to get their node where it needed to be." Like, so people use Magma. So Liquid coming and working with Amboss to like bring 10 Bitcoin of liquidity is pretty important. And if you guys were here over the last 2 weeks at some of our prior shows, we were discussing what are these ETFs going to do with Bitcoin? What are some of these institutional holders going to do? And I think as more data is gathered on Bitcoin as a store of value, and then next, how Bitcoin is used as a medium of exchange, they're going to step out on the risk curve or risk-free curve, whatever you want to call it, depending on how you're framing it, of leveraging some of their Bitcoin in order to add value to the Lightning Network, because Bitcoin has network effects. These payment systems that are available on different layers actually make Bitcoin more useful for people broadly. And the Lightning Network is a wonderful tool for businesses to make payments across subsidiaries to save 2 to 3% yearly, which can equate to billions of dollars for institutions. Sometimes changing the bottom line and giving them some tremendous efficiency. So I would bet that this is a case study and something that larger institutions are watching to see how it goes. But yeah, when Nate shared with me that kind of managing some of these bigger nodes that we have, like pretty quickly wiping out the Amboss marketplace, there's a need for liquidity. So if you're considering taking your Bitcoin stack and providing liquidity or starting a node, definitely reach out. Nate's an expert on scaling nodes and equipping businesses to get ready for this influx that's coming to Lightning. And we're happy to be a resource for you guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think it'll be as we've kind of alluded to, hinted in the past. We're working on integrating the Magma marketplace via Hydra, the kind of automation tooling. So it'll be coming to Voltage for all users, and it's great to see this kind of in tandem with it. So basically, if you look at kind of using that as an integration point, that there's basically liquidity there for you to actually be able to kind of get the connection that you need. So exciting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great. I guess wrapping up this week. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. We've had the highest amount of viewers this week. Last week was our last all-time high. So we're excited to keep doing this live show, community driven. I know there's a lot of folks who I think watch passively, on some of these channels because it is a work day, but we're excited to hear from you guys, and we appreciate those who are, active in the Discord and messaging us on Twitter, any type of content maybe they want to see covered. But closing out here, let's have a fun with some speculation. Obviously a price dip this week. The show's not around price, but a lot of people are talking about it. Graham, do you see this as an opportunity where ETF holders are going to be kind of scraping up as many coins as they can? Or do you see this as an opportunity where like maybe Coinbase, that $1 billion of convertible notes that they're doing, they might be making a Bitcoin buy? Like, what's your kind of speculation here?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think any dip's is a buy opportunity. It's always a buy opportunity. Even all time high is a buy opportunity. But for the like ETF holders and things like that, like I agree, because there was something we didn't even cover as part of our content. There was I can't remember the name of the provider, but they increased their price target for like Bitcoin for this year to like 150K. And then it's like it's going to touch like 250K in like 2025. And so when there's like, and that was some kind of traditional financial institution. I'm blanking on the name of who said that, but when there's people like that are kind of like, traditional players, not just plebs on Twitter, calling for like 150K by end of year, like that's, I think that ETF holders like take that seriously, or at least they look at it, right? And so I think that today we're at 63, 64, something like that, and so that's a lot of ways up. And so I think that people will absolutely be looking at. It'll be interesting to see the ETF inflows over the coming days as we're in this sort of this lower price level, which is, it feels like weird to say that we're at a lower price level at like 64, but we are, and so. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think that we'll definitely see increased amount of buying over the next like several days because the price targets for a lot of these financial institutions hasn't changed or hasn't really decreased at all. So we're still looking up.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said that. Like the other news that came out today, we didn't cover because there's so much going on. The Government Pension Investment Fund of Japan said they're exploring Bitcoin. And what's really good about these pullbacks too is now that it's just kind of common on CNBC to talk about Bitcoin multiple times a day, it's going to be talked about. Hey, 7 to 8, 30% pullbacks on the way to a new all-time high is very, very common. Like that's going to become normal culture. And then over time, price does stabilize. If you look at stability over time, it does become less volatile. And as more people hold it, as more people understand its value, that continues to reduce. And that's when it becomes a medium of exchange. Like a lot of Bitcoiners tend to debate with those who are not Bitcoiners on Bitcoin Twitter. But yeah, it's going to be fun to see. And I'm very excited to see some dips. We'll probably snag a little bit for our balance sheet. Everyone else is. And it's going to be a good year. But any final words, though, before we wrap up? I know we're hitting time here.
No, I mean, I think that this is a good show. There's so much happening in Bitcoin and Lightning. If there's anything that you folks want us to cover or talk about, or if you see just news that is worthy of us kind of talking about, definitely ping us on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever platform it's on, and we're happy to cover it, discuss it. Otherwise we'll keep grinding.
That's right. All right, guys, keep building. A lot of fun stuff coming from Voltage. Stay tuned. Can't wait to share with you guys from the marketing side. We're building a lot, so it's going to be a wonderful year. And we'll see you guys next week, next Tuesday, same time, 12:30 Eastern. We appreciate y'all tuning in.